one asked for, but they're going to see anyway. We're at the relegation tournament final between Aston Villa and Norwich. Kels, we had some not so very high scoring games the past two ones for these teams to get here, but hopefully this one's a little bit more intense.
I don't think there's any way that it couldn't be, James. Definitely that first game between Norwich and can't even remember who they were playing at this point because it was so bad. But that was a pretty bad one. But hopefully we get a great championship game. I'm looking forward to it here.
Yes, they're actually playing Watford, who was the top seed in this tournament. Then we know too that Aston Villa was playing against AFC Bournemouth. That one was expected to be a little bit better than the Norwich Watford. So going into this game, who do you think has the best chance of winning?
Well, I gotta say, based on watching him play, I gotta say Norwich did not play well in the first game, but I kind of have a feeling about him here. I thought Aston Villa probably played better in their semifinal game, but Norwich, we saw them against Watford. We actually had kind of a little bit of a preview to that game when they scored two goals in like the game before the game that we actually had, which only true Roundball Daily fans will know. But I'm going to go with the Canaries to take this W here. I think they're moving on. They're staying up in the Premier League.
I'm starting to think that I believe Aston Villa is going to be your winner here. You know, Connor Horahan at the 95th minute in that semifinal game with the perfect header. I think Aston Villa was a little bit more aggressive in their game compared to Norwich. I could be wrong. Obviously, any game has its differences, but it's going to be very interesting to see as we go to Villa Park here for the game. It looks like we have some rain coming down this evening in England, so normal English weather. So that should, I think, change some things in how this game goes.
Yeah, shocker that it's raining in England. Can't believe that. It's almost like it'd be like raining in Seattle right now, but perfect weather for a championship game, as you'd expect here. And we got Derek Ray on the call. That's disappointing. I thought it'd be Martin Tyler, but
Oh, that's not very smart to say, as you see here in how it really is in this virtual sense. But Aston Villa and Norwich are actually the bottom two teams, so very interesting to see that these teams really just didn't do so well. So we have Aston, obviously, since they're the quote unquote higher seed at home.
and you could see all the everything, all the fixings are out for this championship game. It feels like a championship game here. It's you can see. I think Aston Villa traveled very well. They're protected under the stands there with the rain. Looks like we got a full house, so I'm looking forward to it. And for all you dads out there who are wondering if this is an actual game, no, this is just a video game. My dad was confused the other day, and there was a real Premier League game on. He thought it was a video game, so I just want to clear the air here. Let that be known.
Yes, and we see that Aston's going with a 4-1-4-1, which is very interesting to see. And you see here that Norwich seems to be going with a standard or more common 4-2-3-1 formation. So it'll be interesting to see which one works in this game.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see that matchup. And Norwich going with their Pau Gasol lookalike in goal again. Sam Krul, as he's been good. Team Teemu Pukki, of course, the star for them this year. In real life, he's been outstanding, definitely their best player. And I got to wonder in real life if he will wind up somewhere on a Premier League team next season if Norwich doesn't escape in the real world, because I think he's definitely good enough to play for a mid-table side, or could give some goals to maybe even a higher team than that as well. He's definitely that good.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see, especially too. We'll cover this more in our podcast when we record next. But I don't know if you saw this, Kels, but a couple of teams with Premier League are going to be meeting. Apparently, there's concern of getting the season going before June 30th due to players on loan and everything. So, of course, too, as things progress in the real world, it's really interesting to see what's going to happen during the next couple of weeks to determine that if we're going to get back to some Premier League soccer.
Yeah, obviously, we're all itching to get back to it and would love to see it back as soon as possible, but we'll see what happens. And it seems like, the timeline is being pushed back a little bit through at least maybe probably through May, you would imagine at this point, and maybe into June. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think what we're doing here could definitely be possible with a tournament to determine relegation. I think it could potentially happen because I think it might be the most fair thing.
Yeah, and as we saw here, looks like we're getting back to business as usual as Norwich had a shot go off the woodwork. Looks like we have a foul here on Aston Villa. No card as yet.
Tyrone Mings is disappointed there.
Oh, yeah, that was clearly a foul there. I got lucky he didn't get the yellow.
Wow. And yeah, that's.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, we have a... Oh, that actually did happen in the box. So yet, look at this. We already have a penalty.
Wow. Big time.
And in typical Norwich fashion, saved there by Aston Villa.
That is incredible. You had Pookie taking the shot. He kind of did a little chip shot there. Not sure why he would do that. Definitely gave the goaltender more time to get to it. And, that's amateur. That's rookie level move right there.
Good save, though, you do have to say.
That's true. And he is one of the better keepers in the Premier League as well.
As we have a goal kick going on here after a failed corner kick as well. So looking like, again, business as usual. Very non-professional style football going on here. Feel like I can play better.
Yeah. Well, let's not go too far here, James.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Again, as we said, expert analysis only on RoundballDaily.com.
You wouldn't expect anything less.
Yeah, and again, too, it seems like that Norwich is actually being a more aggressive team here. You know, Aston Villa is trying to get some passes up. Just looks like they could, get a better of a chance. But looks like Norwich is a more aggressive team so far.
Yeah, and you would kind of expect that. That's kind of the way they play in real life. They kind of push it up and down the field. Definitely a team that likes to score goals, or at least likes to try to score goals. They had one of the worst goal differentials in the league and gave up the most goals in the league. So they do give it up on the back end a little bit there, but they like to push it forward for sure.
As Aston Villa is getting themselves ready for a free kick off a foul. Grealish taking the free kick here. Chips it into the attacking area, but no luck. But fortunately, Aston Villa is able to recover in midfield and try to get a attack here going again.
Aston Villa going back with the claret red uniforms. Definitely a classic look here. Both teams, I believe, in their home uniforms here for this game.
Yes, that is true. And one thing, too, I think that is going to make the difference in this game for both teams is how the midfield plays and how they can really make sure that they have enough players in the midfield to either keep possession or at least being on a more defensive front. A lot of times people look at the attacking third and the strikers and the forwards, but this game I think it's really going to come down to who can keep it in their attacking third and keep it away from the opponents getting a chance.
Yeah, and I think certainly in a real matchup between these two teams, that would be the case as well. And obviously these two were in the championship last year and definitely both afforded themselves well. Actually, you heard a lot of talk throughout the season that this was a year when kind of felt like nobody really deserved to go down. Like all 20 teams were legitimate teams in this league. And I kind of agree. I think we saw Norwich, they beat Man City, they beat Leicester. They had a good year and they're probably going to go down unless something crazy happens. Same thing with Aston. They're obviously at 28 games now instead of 29, so they could potentially, if the season resumes, they have a chance to stay up, certainly. But I think both are quality teams.
Yeah, and especially, too, you feel bad for, Norwich coming back this year. Nothing would be rough than having only 1 year in the Premier League and then going back down to Championship. So that could be a little rough for them. So, I think this game here, if they go into a tournament, would really add fuel to the fire. And we have a goal 25 minutes into the game. McLean with a great shot puts Norwich up 1-0. How about that?
Wow, and great pass, too, right into the box. McLean finishes it off, playing Mr. Clean out there. I don't think that was Lucas Duda celebrating with him, but look at the fans going crazy as well.
That was a great through pass right in the middle. What a shot.
Just a little, in hockey, that'd be a one-timer.
Yes, it would. So this is definitely breaking up how the games were last time. This one goal in the first half by Kenny McLean.
You know what? What did I say? I had a feeling that Norwich was going to maybe come to play in this one at Aston Villa in Birmingham. Tough stadium to play in. Venerable team, a team that's a big club and certainly has a lot of history. And Norwich is just coming in here and firing on all cylinders right now. Great start.
Perfect start. That is what we really need again too. Norwich last game, they really were off to a slower start. They did have a lot of possession the first game, that game, but really couldn't get anything going, it seemed. But this one again too, yet again, as we saw, they've been very aggressive, and that has led to their goal. But it seems like Aston Villa now is trying to respond, doing pretty well about keeping it within their attacking third. But it'll be interesting to see if they can respond relatively soon before halftime.
Yeah, they're going to need to come back and try to get one here. Still plenty of time. Not quite sure what the setting is on the time for this game, but looks like definitely there is enough time before halftime. And as you see the yellow card for Max Aarons there, that could be interesting against Norwich. But I think plenty of time here for Aston Villa. They've got to take advantage of maybe the counterattack and try to open up some holes in Norwich's defense, which there are plenty.
That is true, and as that free kick goes in, but well blocked out by Norwich as we go into a free kick. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see again now that we've had our first yellow card. If Norwich will stay aggressive, especially Max Aarons, or if he's going to let off a little bit. Last thing you want to do is get a red card and be down a man for the rest of the game, especially in the final.
Yeah, no question. That's something you never want to do in a final, even a video game final for sure. And Aston Villa kind of coming back here. They got possession a little bit. I think they just lost it, but they've got a chance here. I think in this rest, I think they're going to put some pressure on, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to see, and especially too, I would expect that the second half is when you're going to see Aston Villa coming alive. I think Conor Horahan's going to have yet another goal, if I were to take a guess. I think he's the best shot for them at this point, even as a midfielder, and not really forward, but, again, we saw that he brought Aston Villa to this game. So again, like I said before, I think the midfield really is going to make the difference. We got about 10 minutes before halftime here, so it'll be very interesting to see how both teams come out in the second half, especially too if Aston Villa can tie this game up and bring it to extra time.
Yeah, and one thing that I did want to mention in the two games that these two teams have played so far this season in real life, the first one back in October, Aston Villa won 5-1. So that game obviously not competitive at all. And the next one they won 1-0. So it's interesting going against the grain here of what happened earlier in the season, certainly with Norwich. And so it should be interesting, especially with that first goal, that first score line, to see what happens throughout the rest of this one. Could get some more goals.
Yeah, and especially too, again, this is computer simulation, so anything can be different in the digital world versus the real world. But again, now it looks like Aston Villa is being a little more aggressive and picking up on the possession here and at the end of this first half. Let's see if they can score a goal before going into the locker rooms.
We got the Villains against the Canaries. The battle of the nicknames right there. Interesting battle.
Yes, very English.
That's true. You were saying that Conor Horahan would be the guy that you would bet to score a goal here. I wouldn't count out Grealish either. I feel like he has yet to make his impact in our simulated tournament. As the last game, Aston Villa beat Bournemouth 1-0 on the Horahan goal in extra time. But Grealish, I think, he's the guy that I would look to maybe to create something, make something happen, maybe make a pass for a goal or get the goal himself if they're going to score.
Oh, and we have 2-0. Yet another goal by Norwich. Are they going to pull the upset? As Pukki gets the goal, put them up 2-0 before halftime.
And that was on the rebound there, kind of a garbage goal right there, but they'll definitely take it. That's kind of how he scores. He just sits around the net, the front of the net, and is able to pick some of them up. Man, you got to love that the video game version of him is just like the real him, and he knocks it in. Man, what a job by them. 2-0. It's going to be really tough now for Villa.
Yeah, poor sliding tackle on Aston Villa there, obviously trying to prevent the pass, but missed by a country mile on that slide, leading Pookie to get the second goal.
Incredible.
Oh, I have to say, I did not expect this as we go into halftime. 2-0 Norwich City. The fans letting them know they're not quite happy.
And Norwich City fans have got to be pumped about this. They got to be clamoring for a tournament.
Unbelievable as we see how things are going here.
Pookie only 2 shots, and he's got one goal, but definitely was in the mix in that other goal as well. Or got himself a penalty shot.
All right, Kel. So based off the first half, what have you seen so far that you've liked?
Well, obviously Norwich going forward here. I'd love to see the possession stats here to see what happened so far in the first half. But man, I think they've handled themselves well in the moment here. You would think I haven't seen any semblance of nerves out there, but I think they've gone forward well with Aston Villa, and they've really obviously been able to cash in on their opportunities, as you see. Uh, Great job by them, and this is kind of what happened in our first game that was aborted because we had some technical issues, but Norwich was able to score a couple goals. You see the possession stats: Aston Villa 52-48, but they've only generated 1 shot. This is Norwich at their best here, generating shots, counterattacking, cashing in on their opportunities. This is how they've won games this year when they have, and they're doing it again in the biggest moment possible.
Yeah, and especially too, it's very interesting to see that Norwich had 6 shots in the first half, and I think obviously that leads to the penalty kick at the very beginning of the game. But it's very interesting to see that Aston Villa only 1 shot, and that's I think what's going to kill them. I think they really have to be, even more aggressive than they have been. They do lead the possession, but very, very minimal difference between the two teams. So they really have got to start getting a little more on the aggressive side and really start getting some shots in order for them to come back. A goal deficit, 45 minutes really isn't too difficult to come back from, but they really, really have to get going very fast in the first couple minutes in the second half.
Yeah, they're going to have to take some chances here. They're going to have to try to get some long balls, try to get possession in here. It may affect their defense a little bit and help Norwich on the counterattack. I think we're going to see some more goals because they've got to take some chances. If they can score some, obviously that'd be great for them. But if not, we may see Norwich going the other way and extending this lead.
All right, as we get ready to go into the second half, so again, be very interesting to see how this goes. But I do think Aston Villa is not going to roll over here, and I do think that there could probably be a little bit more action for it, and hopefully we can see them at least mount a comeback.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about if this was something that would happen in real life. Obviously, not something maybe that you would want to do every year because obviously the season is so important and they play so many games to position themselves. But man, the drama, I'm just thinking about the drama of a relegation tournament. That would be pretty incredible, I think, no question.
Yeah, it would definitely be like with the final game between Man City and Man United a couple of years ago, with Man City being home and Man U being away, and then how Man City in the 95th minute of the season, the last minute possible, gets the goal to win. So hopefully we can see that drama here.
Would love to see that. Villa looks a little bit more positive, a little bit better here on offense to start the second half.
Yeah, the one thing that I like seeing in this game compared to the prior two games, that there seems to be a lot more forward momentum and forward movement compared to lateral movement and going a little bit backwards. So it's good to see both teams are a little more thinking forward and not trying to be too conservative and trying to get those goals very soon.
Yeah, this is a little less cagey. This is a little more going for it, as you might hope in a championship game. And yeah, I just think that in this special situation that we have, obviously we hope that the game is able to return at some point here, as this is the only soccer that we have as of right now. But I just think that, if there was an opportunity to do this, if you can't finish out the entire regular season, I think this would be the most fair thing because, as we talked about in previous broadcasts, certainly, teams have don't have balanced schedules. They're not able to play the same number of teams so far. So I think it would be better to have kind of a tournament to settle things.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because again, I know we've talked about a couple of times about how there wouldn't be any relegation this season. And again, bringing in the three teams who qualified to come back to Premier League from Championship. But again, like I've said many times, that's obviously very tricky to pull off, especially when it comes to logistics about having an even number of games. So I think this could be the best bet. Obviously, I don't think that Premier League would do it, but I would love to see him have it be done just so we can get a couple more uh, glances at some Premier League soccer before we go into the off season and then have to wait until August to come back again.
Yeah, and we saw that the West Ham owner had said that maybe there should be nobody relegated from this season. As we saw, a great chance. I'm a little bit behind on the broadcast here, so I'm not sure if a goal is about to happen. So just jump in, James, if whenever that might be the case. But yeah, we saw the West Ham owner obviously say that she believes that a 23 team league would be better next year because then you wouldn't have kind of an unfair situation if they had to relegate anybody and promote obviously the teams that are in the lead at this point. I think you could even do 22. Just promote the two teams, the top two teams in the championship division, and that third team usually gets in via a playoff, so you wouldn't have the playoff this year, but just promote those top two. Then you'd have an even number of teams. It'd be tough scheduling it out, but I think you could end up next year relegating five instead of three. It would be a really definitely a different year, but I think an interesting year.
Yeah, and actually, I kind of like to see 22 teams. That would really, they would have to add two games to the season because obviously you have the home and away. But I would really actually think that would be enjoyable. An extra two games would be fun to watch for a lot of fans. There's not bad thing as too much sports or too many sports on the TV.
Yeah, as we're definitely finding out right now, that's for sure. As I've been watching 80s baseball games for the past week, so I'm not sure what that says about me, but
Yeah, and Todd Cantwell coming off for Onel Hernandez for Norwich, so looks like they're doing their substitutions relatively early. But with a two-goal
mm,
lead, I think you can afford to get some fresh legs on the pitch and try to hold on to this lead.
probably doing it for defense as well, you would think, with this lead. What a run this would be for Norwich City from the last place in our tournament. The four seed didn't have any home games. Villa had a huge win on the road to get this home game here in the championship, and they've just gotten just steamrolled here by the Canaries.
As we see Samata really just seeming to, with 10 touches, but hasn't had a shot yet. So very, very interesting to see if anyone can convert very soon with about 19 minutes left in the game before we have any extra time. But I'm wondering if the rain here has really changed anything for both teams, especially Aston Villa. As you know, it's much harder to get the ball moving on a wet field.
Yeah, I think it actually, people say that it helps offense because defenders are slipping. They can't really stay with guys. Obviously, the offensive player has an advantage, knows where he's going to go, so the defender is kind of on his back heels. So that it's kind of hard to imagine just being out there, how it could help offensively, but that's what players say, and it certainly has played out in this game.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting. And, we're now 15 minutes left. So at this point, Aston Villa really has got to get the pedal to the metal and really start trying to get some offensive opportunities. They're running out of time. In this simulation, we have 7-minute halves. That's why you see, if this is the first time you've ever seen FIFA games, why the clock is moving so incredibly fast. But, they're really running out of time here as Norwich yet again tried to do a header with a cross. But it seems like Norwich really has been the dominant team with being aggressive and being the ones who really take the most out of their possessions.
No question, and they've done that at times when they've won big games this year. And one thing also that is true in this game that would be true in real life if these two teams played is Aston Villa's striker Wesley is not with the team, as obviously we are hooked up to the online updated rosters. He had a knee injury back in January, so that's something that's definitely hurting them as well. Um, as they, it's been tough for them to finish. They only have one shot also, so that's kind of a big deal. But they gotta obviously push here and get something going here forward.
Yeah, as approaching less than 10 minutes to go before we find out how much additional time or has been added on. So, again, hats off to Norwich on the way that they've been playing in this game so far. They've definitely been the more dominant team, especially when it comes to keeping the possession with them in the second half, which is crucial to holding on to this lead.
Kind of disappointed that we likely aren't going to get extra time here as we did have in the first two games, because that provided some great drama. Our first game went to penalty kicks, so even though it was a poorly played game, it was pretty entertaining. But our second game also obviously was kind of crazy with Hurricane having the game winner in extra time. Doesn't look like we're going to get that this time, though.
No, and again, hats off. It seems like the team who I doubted the most in this tournament are the ones that have the last laugh. So that's what happens when you do sports broadcasting, folks. You make bold predictions, and sometimes they fall flat in your face.
Would you call this sports broadcasting? I'm not sure.
Well, it's YouTube Live, so sure, and then it's permanently DVR'd for all of our fans who aren't able to watch this game. So, yeah, we'll call it that. And then expert analysis and great color and play-by-play provided by us.
That's right. And we're getting some of that fantastic ball movement that we saw in the promo as well.
Yes, as that little bicycle kick by Pookie really didn't go so well, but it's off Aston, so it looks like we'll be getting ourselves corner here.
It was more like a unicycle kick.
Yes. Very odd position to do that so far out, but, hats off to people who can do that. That's all you can say at this point. As we have 3 minutes of extra time, and it doesn't seem like Aston's going to be able to pull off a comeback.
Man, and you got to love the fans in Norwich. They deserve to be up there, kind of a yo-yo club, up and down. Got to love them having a chance to stay up in the Premier League one more season, as this is obviously going to be official, and this is what the Premier League will do. So,
exactly, they're going to follow. They're going to follow a bunch of Connecticut podcasters and streamers.
That's what I've heard.
As you can see, that Aston Villa is going to be pushing up, trying to get at least any gasp, at least try to get a goal to make this a little bit more lessen the blow and remove some of the sting from this. But then the game is called. Aston Villa goes down to Norwich 0-2, and Norwich is your relegation tournament champions. So you can hear the fans letting them hear it.
Oh man!
Wow!
And what an exciting, thrilling game, and for Norwich fans at least. And what do you say? Like we're not the worst. Like that's the rallying cry after this one.
We're not going. We're staying here. I guess is the rally cry. Is McLean and Pookie are the two goal scorers at the 26th minute and 45th minute. So both goals coming in the first half. But I gotta tell you, I said Aston Villa was going to win this at the beginning of this broadcast, and I'm definitely eating my words here. Hats off to Norwich.
Yeah, well, at least one of us is providing expert analysis here, as I predicted that Norwich would win it. But I think, wow, what a tournament, and man, for them to stay up. I mean, where does this rank on all-time sports upsets? That's really what I want to know. I think it's right up there with Team USA knocking off the Russians in 1980. I don't know. That's for the fans to decide, though.
I don't know. I thought you were the expert here, Kels.
That's true. In my book, it is.
Well, really, in reality, you would have to say it would be a great upset to see them, who are really in last place in the table right now, make a comeback and potentially stay in. For some people, just escaping relegation is not enough. You want to win the championship and win the Premier League title. But it's always more fun and much easier to win the Premier League title when you're in the Premier League the following season.
That is how that works. And I can't wait for the movie to come out here of this tournament. I think in a couple years, I don't know who will be playing us, but
we'll be casted. Don't you worry about that.
I want to play myself.
Yes, me too. I don't think anyone would want to play us.
Yeah.
So as we end the broadcast here, folks, we have Norwich City 2, Aston Villa nil. So again, hats off to Norwich on your virtual win. We're hoping that we can get to real life soccer very soon. But for now, this is what we have available. We will get back to you about the schedule, and we're going to try to simulate some Premier League, or I'm sorry, UEFA Champions League action and see if we can determine who's a champion should soccer end. So in the meantime, we will get back to our podcast relatively soon. Kels and I have a lot of stuff going on to talk about soccer. As I speak with a Boston accent there, Kels, anything else you'd like to add?
Just stay safe, everybody, and keep tuning in to Roundball Daily's YouTube channel for more great content like this. I'm sure that you enjoyed it, and can't wait for real sports to get back.
Yes. Until then, I hope you did, like Kel said, hope you enjoyed it. We are enjoying doing this. It has been a lot of fun, and it is nice to see more than one goal in this game. But until next time, please stay healthy, stay safe, and we will come back to you soon.